Hi, I'm Kris.
And I'm Matt with MySoil. Today we're gonna do a spring overseeding video at this homeowner's lawn. Now, why does this homeowner wanna overseed? Well, she actually seeded this just 2 years ago, but it's been dealing with a lot of shade issues and a lot of water issues that led to a patchy lawn. So we're gonna get some new seed genetics out here to give her a thicker, darker lawn. Kris, would you go ahead and walk us through those steps?
Yeah, today some of the steps that we're gonna walk through to go ahead and overseed this lawn is the first, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna mark out all of our irrigation or our sprinkler heads, because our next step is gonna be to come through. We're gonna scalp the lawn down very low. We're gonna remove some of the top growth and get it down as low as we can with the mower. And then the next step that we're gonna take is to actually bring in a scarifier, and we're gonna come through and rip out any thatch and grass that's in the surface of the lawn. And what we wanna do here is ultimately expose the soil to where when we come through in our next step, which is overseeding and actually applying that seed, we have that soil exposed so we get good soil to seed contact. After that, the next step that we're gonna take is come through as an option with a compost roller, and we're gonna roll compost, or in our case, peat moss, on the lawn, and that's just gonna give us a little bit of coverage and maybe smooth out the lawn a little bit. And so really those are the main steps that we're gonna take, and we're gonna follow it up by actually looking at our irrigation and setting our controllers and timers so that we can get this seed germinated and out of the ground quickly.
Absolutely, and the last step for me is I'm gonna go ahead and pull a soil sample with the MySoil test kit, and then about 10 days to 2 weeks from now, we're gonna use that recommendation to fertilize. This is a strategy that Kris introduced me to. So Kris, what's kind of the justification behind postponing that fertilization?
Yeah, so I should mention that we actually are gonna delay fertilization in this lawn, and we've asked the homeowner not to fertilize the lawn. And the reason that I like to do that is because we're trying to really change the look and feel and genetics in this lawn. What we want to do is give an advantage to the new seed that's going to be coming up. So what we can do here is we can really lean out the nutrient levels in the lawn. We get the seed down, we get it germinated, and then we can come back a couple weeks later. That way the older grass doesn't outcompete the new turf, and so we give a good advantage to that newer grass that's just germinated by fertilizing about 2 weeks after it emerges.
Perfect. Well, I'm ready to get started.
All right.
So I'm gonna go ahead and just drop this all the way to the bottom. We're gonna scalp this. It's gonna be a little bit of shock and awe, but that's gonna help us get good soil to seed contact.
That's the lowest setting?
Yeah.
That looks good.
Yeah, that's looking really good.
So the lawn's gonna look pretty rough, you know, for about 2 weeks until that seed germinates and really starts to fill in. So if you can handle, you know, 2 weeks of looking a little rough, it'll really pay off. All right, so you can see here after we've gone in and scalped this lawn down, we've really exposed the soil, and this is what we want right here before we come in and thatch or scarify, is really get that top growth removed and get it so we can see that soil. This is gonna give us really nice opportunity for soil to seed contact.
Yeah, this looks really good. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of soil exposed. We can get in here with that scarifier and really open it up so it takes that seed well.
Yep. So Matt's gonna go ahead and make a little bit of a pass here and look at the depth of the scarifier, see if we're getting down to the soil surface and if we need to make any adjustments on the depth. So Matt's gonna do a side-by-side here at a little bit deeper depth, see what we prefer here. So what we'll do is Matt's liking that deeper depth that's really pulling a little bit more grass out and getting us into that soil to where it's almost putting slits into the soil for that grass seed. So you can really see it's getting down there into the grass to the soil surface, bringing up just a little bit more residue, but exposing that soil even better. so now this side's done. What we'll do is we'll kind of let this dry out a little bit so the mower picks it up a little better. So we'll come back at that same low mowing height, and we'll pick up all this stuff that we pulled out of the lawn here, and then it'll be ready to seed. So Matt's just kind of making a last pass to clean up any of the heavy spots, but this mower did a really good job of mowing low and picking up all the material that we brought up with the scarifier. It looks really good. We haven't soil tested this lawn yet. Now's a great time with the soil exposed to go ahead and grab our soil samples, get those to the lab. That way we know exactly what fertilizer we need to add in a couple weeks after this grass seed germinates and gets up and going.
Perfect. I think I'll pull about 5 cores from each side of the yard, get that mixed up in the jar, and then in the mail and off to the lab. All right, so we've scalped this lawn, we've scarified this lawn, we've cleaned that up, we've got our soil sample. Now it's time to get this seed out. Now there's a couple of different options you can use. You could use a broadcast spreader like the one that's in front of me, or you can use a drop spreader for seeding as well. For this lawn, because it's so small, we're gonna go ahead and use this drop spreader. And so Kris, can you kind of take us through what's next?
Again, this is an 80-20 mix of Kentucky blue and perennial ryegrass that we're going to use here. We're in eastern Washington, so the Pacific Northwest. This is a great blend for this area. That ryegrass that we have in there gets off to a quick jump out of the gate. And then what happens is the Kentucky bluegrass will germinate a little bit later and really fill in underneath. All right, so we're going to go ahead and make our first pass on the perimeter here. All right, so we finished our first pass here. So now we're just gonna come out to where the last pass left off. Go ahead and tie into that. This process goes pretty quick. So I'm just kind of looking at my last wheel tracks, and I can actually see the seed on the soil surface as well. So we just wanna make sure that we're getting good coverage here.
Man, Kris, you know, with that calibrated spreader, the rate looks good. Just kind of for a visual, this is about what you'd expect. You know, you definitely don't have this just soil buried in seed, but we definitely see a lot of it, and it's well distributed. We've got good soil to seed contact from all the process up to this point. So let's get the rest of this seed out and then get some peat cover in this and get the water turned on.
All right.
This last step can be thought of as optional, but we're gonna go ahead and top dress this with a peat before we turn the irrigation on. Just kind of hold some moisture in and cover that seed up that's sitting on the surface. But ultimately, we're about to wrap this project up.
What this is gonna do, and it's not necessary as long as your irrigation's really good for the next week to get the seed germinated, but this actually gives us a little bit of a buffer to ensure that we have moisture the whole time while this seed's germinating. So it's gonna give us a little bit of coverage. The peat can be a little bit messier than some of the compost, but Matt's gonna go ahead and add this to the compost roller here, and then we'll roll that over the surface just to give us a little bit of coverage, help us with moisture control as the seed's germinating. Hi everybody, welcome back. We're at the residential lawn that we overseeded about 2 weeks ago, and today we're gonna go through the steps that we're gonna take now that the seed is germinated, it's up and growing, and what those next steps look like.
Perfect, Kris. Yeah, today's gonna be a pretty straightforward day here in the lawn. We're gonna throw a mow on it first. We do have an older reel mower. I love using those reel mowers for our first mow on these overseeding projects. Once we get that mow thrown down, our next step is gonna be to fertilize. We're gonna fertilize based on the MySoil recommendations. And for this homeowner's yard, that's gonna be the Curb Appeal Double Take 16016. This homeowner was a little low in N, a little low in K, and was on the bottom end of sufficiency for sulfur, and that double take has a bit of sulfur in it as well.
Yeah, if you remember, our technique that we used was to let the turf really lean out and not fertilize prior to seeding. And the reason we did this is because we didn't want to allow the existing turf to really outcompete the new seed genetics that we're trying to get in this particular location. And that has worked very well. We do have growth of the older turf here, but the new grass has really germinated and start to fill in underneath.
Absolutely. All right, well, fast forward 6 weeks from when we overseeded this lawn, and these are the results that you can expect. You can see it came in really well. We've got a nice genetic green color. We were able to change those genetics to some extent. So, Kris, what could we really expect, you know, over, say, the next 6 to 10 weeks?
Yeah, I would expect the grass to get a little bit darker color, a little bit thicker, just mature a little bit more. You know, that ryegrass has come up, but that Kentucky bluegrass is still, you know, pretty small. It's going to get a little bit darker green, a little bit thicker blades, but this lawn came out really well. You can see that it's very uniform in its appearance. So just one of the big assets of overseeding is just the uniformity of everything. You know, this isn't something that I would do every single year, but you know, every few years, if you really want to get the lawn a little bit more uniform and spruce it up a little bit, it's a great technique to use.
Yeah, I'm tickled with these results. You know, we had kind of 2-3 weeks of kind of painful viewing of the lawn, but it bounced back and it looks phenomenal. Just to recap some of those main steps, when we came in, we scalped this down, then we came in and dethatched it or sliced it pretty aggressively in multiple directions, picked that up. We overseeded at the high label rate, laid some peat on it, and then really just focused on irrigation management. With Kris's philosophy, we delayed our fertilization for about 2 weeks, fertilized it. This is due for a next fertilizer app next week, and we're just gonna keep carrying this through the hot season here in Southeast Washington State.
And then mowing frequency, this homeowner's mowing, I guess every 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, that's what she was telling me. She's about 2 or 3 times a week, just matching growth and making sure she's not taking too much grass off at any one time. Well, thanks for following along with us on this overseeding. Hopefully you can take some of these strategies and put them to use in your lawn.